Welcome to today's presentation. We are going to look at the management of HIV-related opportunistic infections. We'll look at the management of HIV-related opportunistic infections. So opportunistic infections, abbreviated as OIS, are infections that occur most frequently and are more severe in individuals with weakened immune system, including people with HIV/AIDS. So opportunistic infections, these are infections which are more common in people who are suffering with this pandemic, the HIV/AIDS. However, many people with HIV still develop opportunistic infections because they may not know of their HIV infections, may not be on treatment, or their treatment may not be keeping their HIV levels low enough for their immune system to fight off infections. So we are saying those with HIV/AIDS, in most cases, they intend to develop these opportunistic infections because they don't know that they're HIV positive. And the treatment which they are current on is not helping them enough to raise the CD4 cell count up. As a result, their immune system becomes weak and they tend to develop the infections which we're about to discuss. HIV-related opportunistic infections are those infections you will find present and causing suffering in an infected person with the HIV virus, which he or she would not have suffered from if he or she was okay. So we're saying these opportunistic infections, in most cases, they affect people who are HIV positive, and in most cases, if these people are not HIV positive, you would find that the infections which they are suffering from, they wouldn't have had them if they were not HIV positive. So this subunit will help you identify and understand that these infections are the ones that pose a problem to such individuals. So in this topic, we're saying it will help you understand that these opportunistic infections, they pose a great danger to these individuals who are HIV positive. Let us look at the definition of opportunistic infections. Opportunistic infections, OIS, are infections that take advantage of the weakness of a person's immune system to cause healthy problems. So we're talking of infections which take advantage when someone's immune system goes down. For example, in a situation where we've already explained that when someone is HIV positive, the disease reaches an advanced stage, you find that a lot of infections comes into play, thereby making them prone to various infections. So these are diseases that people with the normal immune system can also get, but with HIV, they occur at much higher rate and take longer for a person with HIV to recover than it takes for someone with a healthy immune system. We should also take it into account that these opportunistic infections can as well occur to individuals without HIV status. We are saying these people who are not HIV positive, they may as well have these opportunistic infections, but when they have them, the rate at which they recover is quite faster as compared to those who are HIV positive. Why? their immune system is strong. Different conditions typically occur at different stages when the immune system is very weak due to advanced HIV disease or AIDS. So we are saying these conditions or the infections, they can occur at different levels depending on the level at which the disease process has reached. Some opportunistic infections can spread to a number of different organs, which is known as disseminated or systemic disease. So when these infections, they've spread to various organs, like for instance, in cancer such as Kaposi sarcoma, you may see that you may find that it may spread to other organs through the lymph, through blood. So we may describe such as a disseminated or systemic disease. It has spread to other organs and it is in blood now. So many of the opportunistic infections that occur at this late stage can be fatal. So depending on the various stages that we've mentioned that these infections can occur, if the infections they've occurred at a very advanced stage, in most cases, these opportunistic infections, when they occur, they bring death because you find that the immune system of someone who is HIV positive becomes greatly affected. Let us look at the guiding principles for management of opportunistic infections. The guiding principles are meant to help the patient from acquiring new infections and comply with the treatment. The guiding principles are meant to help the patient from acquiring new infections and comply with the treatment. So these principles, they've been put across to help the patient to prevent from acquiring new infections so that this patient can as well comply with the current medication, the current treatment that has been put on. The following are the guiding principles for opportunistic infections. The first one is patients should use latex or polyurethane condoms during every act of sexual intercourse to reduce risk of cytomegalovirus, herpes simplex virus, hepatitis C, and HPV, that is the human papilloma virus. So if you look at this principle is just trying to protect the patient from acquiring other infectious conditions such as the cytomegalovirus, the herpes simplex virus, the hepatitis C, as well as human papilloma virus. Because these, when they've been contracted, they'll further weaken the immune system of the patient, and these they bring they bring about a reduction of progress in as far as adherence to medication is concerned. Use of condom also prevents HIV transmission to others, and patients should avoid sexual intercourse in the presence of hepatic regions, mouth, or genital to reduce herpes transmission. So we are saying if you are HIV positive, you should be able to use condoms. You should be able to use condoms to prevent the transmission of HIV virus to others. When you are preventing the transmission of HIV virus to others, you are also preventing yourself from being reinfected. It is vice versa. Many of the times that patients thinks like, because I was given this virus, I should as well give it to someone. The way I was given, I should also give it to someone, without knowing that that's the same scenario that someone you want to sleep with is also thinking of. He is also or she's also HIV positive, just like you. So the moment you come together and sleep without a protection, you start to reinfect each other. and the reinfection brings about uh, uh, um, lowers the progress. It inhibits progress towards your medication. You find that there will be poor adherence to your medication, and these are the cases in which most of the times you find that the patient is on medication, but their CD4 cell count doesn't go up. It keeps on coming down because of reinfection. So the only thing that you can do if you know that you're HIV positive, the obvious thing is that in most cases, these people, they won't abstain from sex. So if you want to have sex, it's better you use a condom. So patients should avoid oral exposure to feces from oral anal contact to reduce risk of GIT infections. Here we are talking of our colleagues who like having sex uh, via rectal, anal. So you find that their GIT will be exposed to fecal matter, which may bring about GIT infections. So these GIT infections include cryptosporidiosis, the Shigerosis infections, the Capiobacteriosis, the Amobiosis, hepatitis A and B. So patients should frequently wash hands and genitals with warm soap water during and after possible contact with the feces. We are talking about hygiene here. Hygiene has to be maintained at all the times to reduce infections, which can further bring down the immune system of an individual who is HIV positive. HIV infected persons at risk for the HIV infected person, they are also at risk for hepatitis B and C, like I've explained already. Then additional strains of HIV, including drug resistance, which I explained already, and other blood-borne pathogens. So it is very important that when you want to have sex, you want to have it either oral or anal or vaginally. Protect yourself so that you are as well able to protect yourself from other infectious conditions, including those of blood-borne pathogens. The second principle in regards to management of opportunistic infections is counsel and refer patients to drug treatment programs. Counsel and refer patients to drug treatment programs. So activities includes increasing the risks of exposure to TB includes volunteer work, employment in health care facilities, employment in correctional institutions, e.g. prisons, shelters for homeless persons, such as refugee camps. So if you look at these activities which we've just mentioned, you find that all these are areas which are so congested. So you may realize that in congested areas, the rate at which we expose ourselves to airborne conditions such as TB is quite high. So we describe this as one of the risk factors that can expose patients to TB conditions. You can even see that ourselves who work in healthcare facilities, we get exposed to a number of patients with various conditions. So we are also at risk of developing TB in future. And that is when our immune system gets down. An HIV infected person should reconsider working in such environment and base decisions on nature of his or her duties. TB prevalence in community and the IP precautions at their workplace. So if you know that you're HIV positive, working in such areas, you need to take a number of infection prevention measures so that you prevent yourself from acquiring these opportunistic infections. Child care providers and parents of children in child care facilities are at increased risk. It is the same reason that I explained previously to say these care providers, they expose themselves to a higher group of children, which is congested. So this puts them at a risk of contracting opportunistic infections if they are HIV positive. Veterinary work with pets in farms or slaughterhouses may pose risk for cryptosporidiosis, toxoplasmosis, salmonellosis, caprobacteriosis, and the bacterial infections. So, working with animals may also predispose us in various infections, especially of the GIT, like you can see the conditions which have been mentioned in here. Patients should use gloves and wash hands after farming or gardening to avoid risk of cryptosporidiosis. So prevention is better than cure. So we are trying to give out some preventive measures which can ensure patients they don't expose themselves to these opportunistic infections, because it's a known fact that whether HIV positive or not HIV positive, you need to work for yourself so that life still continues. Raw or uncooked eggs, poultry, meat, or seafoods, unpasteurized dairy products, and pasteurized fruit juices may contain pathogens. So we are saying before you eat something, you need to check the levels of hygiene of the foods that you are eating. They could be a good source of pathogens which will bring about opportunistic infections which we are discussing. Meat should be cooked until no trace of pig remains in order to prevent GIT infections and the toxoplasmosis. Those of us who like eating partially cooked or bent meat, especially on braais when we're drunk, we can see what we're being told in here. We need to avoid such because we expose ourselves to infections of gastrointestinal tract. Travel may carry significant risk of exposure of HIV-infected patients to opportunistic infections. Severely immunosuppressed persons are at increased risk for foodborne and waterborne infections. So we are saying people who are HIV positive, if they are to travel, they also put themselves at high risk of exposure to opportunistic infections, because where they are going, they don't know. And because of severely immunosuppressed, if they are severely immunosuppressed, they are also their risk of getting infections through foodborne and waterborne diseases also increases as well. So it is very important, like I said earlier on, that you need to look at the food that you are eating. Examine it. Take a look at the food that you're eating. Is this food meeting the good hygiene levels, standards hygiene levels that you are supposed to eat so that you prevent a number of infections? No, prevention is better than cure. In prevention, you spend less, but when you become sick, you spend more than what you could have used if it was just doing a preventive measure. All HIV-infected persons should take antimicrobial agents with them on their travel. Like I said, that HIV-positive people, when they travel, they risk exposure to opportunistic infections. So it is advisable that when they are traveling, they have to travel together with antimicrobial agents. They need to carry some antibiotics when they are traveling away. And this is in a case where they tend to develop some diarrhea. They can just get those antibiotics and they get. Patients should consult a physician if diarrhea is severe, contains blood, is associated with fever, or does not respond to empirical therapy. So these antimicrobial agents which they travel with them, should they develop diarrhea like I've said, they can always take them so that they can control the diarrhea. But in a situation where diarrhea has failed to be controlled with these antimicrobial agents, then they need to seek the help of their physician. And in situations where the diarrhea is containing blood, there is a fever, and it is not responding to the empirical therapy that we've mentioned, they have to move with, then they should think of seeking further medical help from their physician. Antiperistaltic agents, e.g., diphenoxylate and repelamide, are used for the treatment of diarrhea, but should be avoided if there is high fever, blood in stool, symptoms persist beyond 48 hours. So if someone is having severe diarrhea, they've taken loperamide and it's not helping. There is fever, there's blood in stool, symptoms persist beyond 48 hours, even after starting these medication. So we advise that they need to seek medical help. Travelers should also take chemoprophylaxis for malaria and obtain treatment with immunoglobulin as needed. So when you are traveling, you don't just think of diarrheal diseases. Also think of tropical conditions such as malaria. So you can get the prophylaxis treatment for malaria, e.g. Damson. You can have Damson if you know that the place where you're going is malaria infested place, so you need to take Damson in advance so that you prevent yourself from developing malaria. So this is done by through immunoglobulin as needed. You just need to visit them and they'll try to advise you what kind of medication you're supposed to take in relation to the location region where you are going. Vaccines that are safe if patients immunization is not up to date. Vaccines that are safe if patients immunization is not up to date. So we have some vaccines which they don't do harm to the patient who is HIV positive. We mean if the immune system is compromised, we have vaccines which are not harmful. That is pneumococcal, influenza, hepatitis B, tetanus toxoid. Inactivated polio vaccine can be given to patients who are HIV positive with their immune system which is very low. Then vaccines that are contraindicated in HIV infected persons. HIV infected persons, we have BCG, VZV, oral polio vaccine, and oral typhoid and the yellow fever. So these vaccines, they react with the medication for HIV. So they are not advisable that we give to people who are HIV positive. The other said principle that we have to consider when we are managing opportunistic infections is nutritional support. Nutritional support. Malnutrition adversely affects immunity and has a significant impact on quality of life of HIV-infected persons. Like I've explained in the beginning, that the immune system of an individual plays a very important role in as far as prevention of infection is concerned. In someone whose nutrition status is not good, it also simply means that their immune system will be affected because uh, the health of the body will be not good. The health won't be good. So malnutrition makes children more prone to opportunistic infections. Malnutrition makes children more prone to opportunistic infections. Here we just talking of blood children. We're not talking of children only with we're not talking of children only with the HIV infections, but as long they are children. And we know that in children, generally, the immune system is already weak. So if you don't give them a balanced diet, then they'll be prone to opportunistic infections. And being HIV positive and low nutrition levels predisposes them even more to opportunistic infections. So we are saying HIV infected persons, malnutrition makes children more prone to opportunistic infections. Then because of that, you find that there'll be weight of loss. So weight of loss can be due to inadequate energy intake when there is low intake of energy giving foods. Also metabolic dysregulation. Dysregulation. Find there's no proper regulation to metabolic. Find that much of the food that has been taken, it is not well utilized. It is not well utilized. Then apart from that, where we said weight loss can be due to weight loss can also be due to side effects of medication. Side effects of medication, like for instance, some medication when you take them, they'll make you vomit. So you may realize that the food that you've eaten, it won't be properly utilized by the body. So instead of the body receiving the much needed nutrients which were in that food, the nutrients will just come out, and that can also lead to loss of weight. Also malabsorption syndrome and infectious process, e.g. opportunistic infections, which we are discussing. Inadequate energy intake may also be associated with mouth lesions when you have some ulcers, some bruises in the mouth. You feel like eating something, but just because you have lesions in the mouth, you have sores in the mouth, you have bruises in the mouth, you'll be feeling that pain when eating food. So definitely you'd prefer to stay without eating anything so that you don't experience that pain. Then pharynx or esophageal candidiasis, same explanation. There are times when this candidiasis is so much that you can't manage to eat properly because it tends to develop some sores on it. Then cytomegalovirus, herpes virus, nanny infections lesions like apterous ulcers, then poor oral hygiene, which may also lead to mouth ulcers or infections of the mouth, which may make you uncomfortable to take foods because of the sores that may come due to poor oral hygiene. Then medication-induced GI symptoms, e.g. nausea and vomiting, which I've explained. Also inadequate Inadequate energy intake may also be associated with the psychosocial economic stress caused by bereavement, depression, loneliness, or concerns about financial resources So in here, we are saying, an individual will be unable to take in enough food because of undergoing so much stress, because of having so much stress, so much mental stress that they think a lot of things. Maybe in a situation where they've lost their beloved ones, they get depressed, loneliness, that they later have enough time to think like they're supposed to eat. Or what they think about is, now that our breadwinner is gone, how am I going to survive? How am I going to survive? So they get depressed. They have little time to start thinking of food, and that itself also contributes to uh, uh, reduction of immune system, contributes to suppression of immune system, which comes in with the opportunistic infections. Also, chronic diarrhea. Also, chronic diarrhea comes in due to inadequate intake of of energy. Okay, so what should we recommend? What should we recommend on these people, especially on the last principle, which we just on discussing? So I saying all HIV infected persons need early and continuing nutritional assessment and counseling. All people who are HIV positive needs to be diagnosed early, and we need to continue assessing their needs in terms of nutrition, so that their health can be good. When the immune system is strengthened, even the health of these people who are HIV positive becomes better. Dietary supplements and appetite stimulations agents may be helpful. So in these people, when you've seen that they're not responding so well to foods that we prepare for them, they've lost appetite, we can prescribe some diet supplements which can improve their appetite, so that they're able to take something which can strengthen their body, Nutritional education or early referral to dietitians helps many patients deal with the nutritional issues. Nutritional education or early referral to dietitians helps many patients deal with nutritional issues. It is not wrong to refer someone to a specialist. When someone is HIV positive, you don't know exactly what kind of foodstuffs they should be eating. If you refer them to a dietitian, the patient may benefit in so many ways, in that their nutrition status will be good, which will also end up promoting good health of their body, coming along with it, increasing their immune system. So we need to diagnose these people early and send them to the dietitian, so that they can as well advise from their point of view, specialization. The other principle is community and peer support. The other principle is community and peer support. Persons living with HIV/AIDS are confronted with severe illnesses, neuropsychiatric disorders, overwhelming societal responses, complex social and psychological needs. So these are under community and peer support. So these people who are HIV positive, they are part of the community and they're coming from the community. So as the community where these people are coming from, as a community who is keeping these people, we need to be supportive. We need to be supportive. Being supportive, it doesn't mean that you need to give them money. You can give them anything. You can support them with anything that you can manage. By so doing, these people, they feel honored, like they are still part of the community. They are still recognized in the community, and they feel honored, like they can still do much for their community because the community still considered them to be of great value. So when the community is able to support these people, you find that uh, even the manner in which uh, they adhere to medication becomes better. They become more free-minded people that uh, they become more minded people that they even start to mentor or counsel individuals who may have problems in taking medications if they've been diagnosed positive, because the community has welcomed them and they feel like they can also help other members to accept that they're HIV positive so that they can start medications and prolong their lifespan. The disease challenges not only the individual but also people whose lives are affected by the disease. So, like I said, that the community needs to support these people, because when someone is HIV positive, the disease does not just affect them, but it affects everyone. That's why I said it is very important that we support these people. The clinician must take time to deal with some of the issues, shock, disbelief, anger, sadness, suicidal ideation in the immediate period after receiving a positive test results. How do we deal with the results which are positive? First of all, you need to read the minds of the client psychologically by using the sense of cognitive. Just look at the patient. You are able to tell that this patient is not ready to receive the positive results, because your intention is not to have someone who dead for testing HIV positive. So first of all, you need to look at the patient, study them psychologically. Is this a type of patient who can withstand if they are being told that HIV positive? Is this the type of patient, if we tell them that they're HIV positive, they'll go home and share with their beloved ones, with their family members, with their friends that they're HIV positive? So all those should be put into consideration. So that's why I say it doesn't just affect them, but it affects everybody. The clinician should develop an alliance with key stakeholders, e.g. the CBOs, and link patients as appropriately and link patients as appropriately. The management of this patient is not done by a single person. Like I said in the beginning, find that we need dietitians, we need counselors, we need doctors, nurses. So everybody who plays a role in the management of these patients, the people from the lab, all of them, they should be involved so that our clients can be managed very well. Post-test lab results. There's some clubs that they just deal in counseling these patients. Like for instance, those who've done psychosocial counseling, they are very good in counseling people in various conditions, not just in HIV conditions, but in all the conditions. They've been trained to counsel. So you can also involve such people. Don't just say, I know it, or but involve everyone who plays a role in the management of these conditions. Nutritional support groups, like we mentioned, that it's not just about medication, but we also need to look at the nutritional wise of the patient. Is the patient receiving enough food to support the body? The clinician should also show respect for the spiritual beliefs of the patient. When someone has tested HIV positive or they are already HIV positive, we need to respect them. We still need to know that they are human beings, they have rights. So where we feel we need to provide information so that the patient becomes clear, it is our role to do that. We don't need to laugh at them, but we need to provide information which can change them later. Extended family members should be educated and counseled about home-based care for the patient. Extended family members should be educated and counseled about home-based care for the patients. Family needs to be given enough information on how the patient should be cared at home. How can HIV be transmitted from one person to the other? Educate them the need to avoid the exchange of sharp instruments like laser blades, all those which can be a source of HIV transmission at home. The other principle is sexual and the RH counseling, reproduction health, sexual and reproductive health counseling. Every HIV infected woman has the right to decide if and when she wants to become pregnant. I mentioned this in the beginning at some point. Someone who is HIV positive is just a normal person like someone who is not HIV positive. Everything that you feel is what they also feel. They have the right to have children. So we are saying they need to decide if and when she wants to become pregnant. If they're HIV positive, they want to become pregnant, let them decide when. Okay? Or let them decide when to become pregnant or continue a current pregnancy. There are times when you're diagnosed HIV positive when you're already pregnant and you cannot abort, you cannot terminate the pregnancy because of the HIV positive status that you've been taught. So you need to continue with the current pregnancy that you are carrying. Accept evidence-based prenatal services to reduce risk of mother-to-child transmission. Mother-to-child transmission. So, for instance, if you're HIV positive, if you've been found HIV positive, you're already pregnant, you need to accept the services which are being offered during antenatal to reduce the risks of transmitting the disease to unborn child. Again, if you are not yet pregnant, you are HIV positive, you want to become pregnant, you also need to accept the services which are there to also help reduce the chances of transmitting the HIV disease to the child that is unborn. Patients should be informed that new infections which increase viral loads and lower CD4 cell counts worsen opportunistic infections or precipitate reinfections. Here we say the patient should be informed that new infections which increase viral loads, if someone is already HIV positive, they need to avoid reinfecting themselves, because reinfections or other infections that they may acquire, more especially getting reinfected with another HIV virus that can come as a result of unprotected sexual intercourse, it increases viral load. So when the viral load goes up, the CD4 cell counts, the cells that protect you from various infections in the body, they become low. They become very low. So when your CD4 counts drops, it means you develop more room for opportunistic infections. You develop more room for opportunistic infections. Then you counsel all HIV infected adults about family planning. Counsel all HIV infected adults about family planning. All those who knows that they're HIV positive, it's very important that they get counseled on family planning. They get counseled on family planning. Assure confidentiality, respect for clients' rights, voluntary choice, and the informed consent. What you discuss with these patients, it shouldn't be shared with anyone else. That's why I saying there should be high levels of confidentiality. Confidentiality has to be practiced at a high level. The moment patients they come to know that what you see in the hospital or what you've shared with them, you share with other people outside the hospital, they may sue you, they may also lose trust in you. As a result, you are not doing anything good to these patients, because patients they'll start shunning away coming to seek medical services. And what the next thing, there'll be escalating cases of HIVs in the compound, because they'll be just transmitting them, they'll be just giving, they'll even be feeling uncomfortable to come and ask condoms from you because you don't have a secret. So the benefits of quality counseling includes increased contraceptive acceptance. If you counsel this patient nicely, you find that they are going to adhere to their family planning pills. It also has enhanced effectiveness. If they've been put on family planning medication, the effectiveness is quite good. Improved continuation rates with the chosen method, because they don't default, so they'll be able to continue with the same medication for a long period of time. Increase client satisfaction. Increase client satisfaction. If there's good counseling, the clients always get satisfied with the information that you give them. Then reduce rumors and the misconception. If you are more open-minded to the patient becomes very much at ease with you. Will be able to ask even ambiguous questions so that you can clarify more answers to them, so that they don't believe on rumors or misconceptions that they tend to get outside the hospital. And this is the reason as to why Health personnel, we are being told to be professionals when we are on duty. When we are more professional on duty, we find that our clients, they become free with us and ask good information on how best they can help themselves to prolong their lifespan in the midst of this pandemic. Patients should be informed that only condoms protect against HIV infections, and that dual protection against HIV and pregnancy is recommended. So I'm sure you've heard of dual protection. If you haven't heard of dual protection, in dual protection, you are talking of protecting yourself from reinfection, as well as preventing the transmission of the virus to the child who is unborn. So this is what we mean by dual protection. You are protecting yourself as well, protecting the transmission of the child to transmission of the virus to the child who is not yet born. But when you are using a condom, you're just trying to protect yourself from acquiring HIV infection that can bring problems in the drug adherence. Stigma and the discrimination. Stigma and discrimination. More negative attitudes of caregivers limiting ability to provide effective, respectful care. Like I said, we need to be professionals when we are on duty. If we are professionals on duty, you find that these people who are HIV positive, they'll be more open with us. They'll be more free to ask us questions so that they can learn how to look after themselves so that their lifespan in in the middle of this pandemic can be increased. Then reducing stigma and discrimination. Irrational and exaggerated fears associated with HIV/AIDS should be addressed through educational programs sustained and supported over a period of time. There are various stories or misconceptions, misbeliefs that people talk about this pandemic. So this can be addressed addressed through various means, and one of them is supported programs which people do like drama groups, which they go and perform in the community with message that can help people train uh, with message which can help people learn something from HIV/AIDS. Clinicians should educate their peers, e.g., about invasive precautions in infection prevention. So, invasive precautions, as far as infection prevention is concerned, we mentioned some of them, like uh, ensuring that we wash our hands with warm water and soap so that we prevent a number of GIT infections, which can further reduce the immune system of our clients. Addressing stigma and discrimination, examine their own beliefs, values, and assumptions and attitudes towards the HIV/AIDS. The only way we can reduce or we can address stigma is to examine the beliefs of our clients and the assumptions which they have towards HIV and AIDS, so that we are able to attend to them. Allow patients to enumerate fears as well as describe any actual experience of discrimination. Like I said, making them be easy with us. They'll be able to tell you the problems which they are going through, be it at house level, community level. They'll be able to tell you so that you can come up with a solution. Because if they've seen that you are able to help them, you become their provider of everything. Help clients to identify trusted sources of support in the family and the community. Even in the family, it's not everyone who is helpful to you. There are some individuals who never help you even when they have it. So you should do as well inform or educate your clients where they can get support within the family as well as the community. And this should be done in a good way, not just on gunpoint. Like tomorrow I'm going for review at the hospital. I need transport money. Someone should be informed in good time so that they can prepare for their movements. Assist in provision of emotional and social resources for those who have experienced discrimination. Assist in provision of emotional and social resources for those who have experienced discrimination. So we need to reassure those who have been discriminated before that through community sensitization, people need to be educated. They need to associate with people who are HIV positive so that they can realize that even when they are HIV positive, the community needs them more. So we have come to the end of our discussion where we looked at the management of opportunistic infections. Opportunistic infections, especially related to people who are HIV positive. We also looked at the guiding principles on how we can handle these opportunistic infections. I thank you so much for paying attention throughout this presentation as well as contributing. Thank you so much. Until we meet again. Bye bye.